Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the CS-Sensei Cybersecurity Mentorship Program. We meet each week to talk about being aspirants for the cybersecurity career field, help each other achieve it, and help everybody to enjoy a wonderful occupation in cybersecurity. I'll say it that way. So good morning, everybody, and welcome. I'm Scotty. For those of you who have not met me before, Chris and I have been doing this mentorship program for over 3 years, almost 3.5 years, I guess now. We started in October or November of 2019, and we've been doing this weekly ever since. We've had a couple breaks here and there, like for holidays or something, but if you have nothing to do on a Saturday morning, this is a place to be. Just bring your coffee and enjoy your time with us. So I wanted to start this morning and talk a little bit about motivation. Motivation, I guess, is a good way of saying it. You can see on the screen, I talk about your why. I'm going to bring this up into a full slideshow so you can actually see it a little better. Does anybody have any good stories about your motivation or something that has occurred to you you didn't believe you could achieve, or something that you worked for in small steps to achieve larger goals? Anybody have any stories about that you can recall in your life, or it's something that you're living right now? Anyone? Okay, well, I'll start off nice and easy. When I was in high school, I was one of those people that had lots of potential but didn't go anywhere with it. I liked to swim, so I was on the swim and water polo team. I eventually became the captain of both teams. I was in the choir, and I eventually became the choir president. I enjoyed, singing, and they had musicals at the high school, and I ended up in a starring role in 2 musicals in high school. Those are things that I enjoyed doing that sort of turned into great accomplishments for me. It wasn't that I was trying to become the swim and water polo team captain. It's just that my enthusiasm seemed to show, and those around me appreciated that, so they asked me to be the captain. I had tremendously high SAT scores. I don't know if you guys are familiar with the organization Mensa. It's supposedly for geniuses. I had high enough SAT scores to qualify for Mensa while I was in high school, but at the same time that I got these tremendously high SAT scores, I was failing high school algebra for the 2nd year in a row. So I had lots of potential, but it didn't really form itself until later on in life. I can remember being in the military and saying, none of these career fields really look very interesting to me. And then they gave me a list, and they said, here are all the career fields you can volunteer for. And at the very last page at the end of the book, right at the very end, it said, 99125, Special Electronics Technician. Due to the classified nature of this career field, we can't tell you much about it, but we can say that this is a challenging career field. I said, that's enough. Challenge. I want a challenge. And so I volunteered for that career field, and I was the only person who volunteered for it at that particular time. Everyone else was hand-selected because of their great test scores. They all had higher test scores than me. But in the end, I ended up being the class leader, the student squadron commander, the honor graduate, all of those things, simply because I followed after the things that interested me, things that I was enthusiastic about. And if you can determine that for yourself, you can really unlock tremendous potential, and it helps you each and every day to recognize that you're working toward a goal rather than, well, it seemed like a good thing to do at the time. You know? So let's talk about this. Understanding what motivates you will move you when you feel stuck. Honestly, it will. If you are just feeling like you're not achieving things, well, start off with, why do I want to maybe not be here? Why is what I'm doing or where I'm at or how much I'm making, why is that not satisfying me? You know, all of this gets into what drives you. And here's something that I will say for myself personally: you're less likely to fall into a great career. You're more likely to achieve that career because you set it as a goal and work toward it over the course of time. Okay? So it's just helpful to learn about your motivations, to learn about your goals, establish goals. You've heard this said for many different times in your life, I'm sure. Your parents, your grandparents talk to you about, well, what do you want to do in life? You know, that's your goal. Where do you want to be? And here's the thing. I can't tell you what your goal is. I can't tell you what motivates you. You may have a desire to get healthier. I've got some up here. Support a disabled family member to avoid family health problems. Mom and Dad both had heart attacks and open heart surgery. Well, I don't want to go through that. So I'm doing something that sets myself on a path to where I am eating well every day, and hopefully I don't end up in the same predicament as my mom and dad. That's a goal. You want to reverse your family poverty. You know, I could barely make it to activities at school because mom and dad couldn't afford them, and I don't want my kids to have to go through that same thing. That's a motivation. That helps you work toward a goal, an achievement. For some of the people, it may be you're the first person in your family to get a degree. That could be motivation that helps you understand that you have a reason to get that degree, to work toward that degree, and achieve your lifelong dreams. I remember when I was really young in elementary school, they said, "What do you want to be when you grow up?" Well, for many of us, you know, I want to be a fireman or whatever. I remember when I was really young, I said, I want to be an oceanographer. Well, I lived in Southern California, and frequently we would go down to the beach in Southern California, Newport Beach or Aliso, San Onofre, you know, anywhere down there, and hang out with the water and the surf, and I learned to body surf and that sort of thing. So my lifelong dream was, hey, the ocean sounds cool. I like the ocean, so I'm going to learn about the ocean. Well, I never made it to oceanographer, but when I was asked young in life, what do you want to be when you grow up? I said, I think I want to be an oceanographer. So your lifelong goal may not be what you achieve, but you may use that to achieve another goal as well. Any discussions so far? Any thoughts? We have a lot of people on today. Anybody have any thoughts about what drives you, where you want to be, what you want to achieve? Please share. Parima, I'm calling you out because I know you, Parima, and one of the things that I admire about you is that every year you make time to visit your family, right?
More or less.
More or less.
Years.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You travel internationally so that you can see your family. And that's something that I don't think I have ever put on my list of goals to achieve, but I'm sort of proud of you for being able to make that time, regardless of what's going on around you. You make time for family. You know?
Yeah. Actually, I haven't gotten to see the family for a while, mostly because of the COVID restrictions for traveling, because didn't want to get trapped in Thailand with the requirements to quarantine for so and so. It's
Right.
dropped now, but I still haven't gotten a chance to go back to see them at this point. At this point, I'm more traveling because I want to see the world instead of wanting to see the family.
Okay.
Because the family is getting a little bit more distant, and there's some trouble in the family is all. So.
Yeah. Well, relatives are, a blessing and maybe not a blessing.
Both, yes.
Yep. Yep. Anyone else? Thank you, Parima. Thank you for sharing.
Hey, Scotty, I'll say one thing.
Okay.
When I was first looking for my first IT information insurance role, I was not necessarily, I was already in the federal government and I already was getting a paying job being an analyst, but something that was not IT. I was looking around to say, well, who needed help and who needed work that would help me get the experience. So I found this program around DC where the guy takes computers from different businesses and government agencies. They already been gone through the disposal process, but we double check and make sure that they are taken care of on the disposal side. But once we verify that they've been taken care of on disposal side, we take the memory, put them back in, take the hard drives, put them back in, recycle the computers, and put a new gold operating system on it. And those computers end up with low-income DC residents who need computers to learn an extra skill, or they go to the school children in Africa, and they use them for their classes, and they can have technology as well. So that would be my starting driving factor of, hey, not only am I getting that technical experience with that volunteer, but there's a mission and a goal involved with it. And I go, that's a great mission and goal to be involved with it. And getting the experience was just icing on the cake afterwards. Just to know that I was doing that for that mission was great and wonderful. And me personally, just helping people understand technology and teaching people about technology, that would be my passion, my drive, and why. And that continuous learning factor, that article you posted on Facebook, just be always learning, always working through technology, always labbing through it. And that would be my driving factor and why.
Very good. So that's your, for that particular activity, that was your why. You did it for a reason, and that was to help people. And you're here today as a mentor to help people, right? So that's sort of your MO. And it feels rewarding to accomplish that, doesn't it?
Yes, it does.
Yep. Anyone else? Okay. Many of you may be young and just starting off on your career plans, and you may be experiencing, more frustrations than anything else, or more challenges to what you're doing, unexpected challenges. You have to, over the period of your life, you have to realize that you're going to run into things that you didn't plan for. And that's just unavoidable. You cannot avoid everything. I'll give you, the most drastic example in my life. I was in the Pentagon on 9/11 when somebody decided to fly an airplane into our office building. So it was not planned, absolutely, but it changed things for me and my team, at least, for at least an entire year, because we were in a really nice office, sat 27 people, had just been refurbished, renovated, new carpeting, new furniture, everything was beautiful. Then somebody flew an airplane into the building, and that portion of the building was blocked off due to water damage because the sprinkler systems went on. So we couldn't stay there, and for the entire next year, we ended up as tenants in somebody else's office. The 5 of us for an entire year had 1 desk, 2 chairs, and 1 flatbed cart in the corner of somebody else's office. So it was literally a case where if 3 or 4 of us were sitting in the office and one of the other persons came in from the hallway and said, I'm going to have lunch or whatever, somebody had to leave so that person could sit down. So consequences are not always negative. They're just something you have to get through. You have to make it through. And you've heard, like for the Marine Corps, they talk about adapting and overcoming. That's what helps you when things occur that you didn't plan for, or they didn't occur the way you planned for them. I'm going to share something that occurred with me personally many years ago. This was when my daughter, who had been living with her mother for like 10 years, came back to live with me for a little bit because she wasn't doing well with her mom, and I was near what was considered to be a pretty good high school, and I offered her the opportunity to come and try and help make her life better. If changing your environment will help you, come live with me rather than where you're at. And she came down and stayed with us for almost 2 years. But I remember having this conversation with her because day after day after day after day after day, she would just sit. She would, go to school, come home from school, or so I thought, and just sit around the house, watch TV, play games, whatever. And after a while I said, well, Tracy, what are you interested in doing? What drives you? What do you think about something and say, I would like to do that? And it seemed like when I was speaking with her, every time I would say, what do you want to do? Her response is on the screen, well, I don't want to do this. I said, okay, well, what do you want to do? Well, I don't want to do that. I said, all right, but what are you interested in? And she'd say, well, not this. And the whole conversation seemed to be that she couldn't find her ambition. She didn't understand, or she didn't yet understand what motivated her. So the father-daughter talk that was designed to help be a pep talk and, you can do it, and, was kind of rough for both of us, because the whole, I didn't grow up with her. She grew up with her mother. And so when she came to me, I said, well, what would you like to do? Well, not this. Okay. What would you like to do? Well, not this. Okay. And in the end, I couldn't help her get a foothold on what she wanted to achieve or what interested her, to where she and I could work together to accomplish that. And I'm sure it was very frustrating for both of us. I know I felt like I wasn't helping her as much as I could have. So just something to think about. Not this is probably not the best approach. Pain avoidance. Well, I don't want to stub my toe. Okay, so that's why I wear these shoes. Okay, but if you want to run, then it's probably helpful to have running shoes rather than I want to avoid pain. Here's something that I hope you can understand when we talk about your why. Your motivation is something that is within each and every one of us. And I'm sure you've seen these people that are just unlimited potential. They run around and they do this and they do this and they do this. They're in charge of this. They have a family of 6. They've got, whatever, a raft full of degrees or a whole bunch of certifications, or they're the senior vice president in their company or whatever, and they seem unstoppable. And you say, wow. And the thing to think about for yourself is, that's their motivation, but what's your motivation? And I want to encourage you, when you understand that, and when you can see that in yourself and say, what do I want to do? What do I want to achieve? And one of them could be escape from poverty. One could be to make the world a better place. One could be to not be like my parents. All of those could be driving factors. But it's helpful to understand what drives you. What drives you? And like I said, long journeys go faster. Distant goals seem closer. Complex become simpler. Difficult decisions become easier to make because you know why you're making those decisions. And you find hidden strengths you never knew you had. If you think I'm lying, give it a try. Ask yourself, what drives me? What gets me out of the bed in the morning? Here's a quote from Nietzsche. He who has a why to live for can bear almost any how. Something that drives you. Think about it. What do I want to accomplish? What do I want to avoid? Where do I want to be? You've heard people talk about 5-year and 10-year goals. It's helpful to put them down. Don't look at it as a pass-fail. Oh, I didn't reach my 5-year goal, I'm a failure. That's not true. This is an attitude that can help you each and every day work toward a goal. Short and long-term goals. The short-term goal could be as simple as, I need to get through this pay period without getting deeper in debt. The long-term goal could be associated to that says, I don't want to be in this predicament next year, this time next year, or something like that. A longer-term goal, they both may be driven by the same thing, which in this case is to increase your financial viability and decrease your financial discomfort. Here's a short-term goal. Walk every day at 6 a.m. The long-term goal is to lose 30 pounds. But today, my short-term goal is to walk at 6 a.m. today. See what I'm saying? Your long-term goals can turn into short-term tasks that are there to help you achieve your long-term goal. And when you're walking and you don't feel like walking, and this may be raining, or it may be too hot for most people, or whatever, you focus on that goal. You say, why am I doing this? I'm doing this because I'm here to lose 30 pounds. Pow, off I go. Shoes on. See you, Mom. See you, Dad. I'm off to lose 30 pounds. It's just something to help you. I'll give you an example again. And I do a lot of sharing. I hope you guys don't think that I'm trying to be vain. I've been through so much pain and so much heartache and so many challenges in my life. I just want you to understand that it is still possible, regardless of your background and regardless of what you face today, it's possible to make a better tomorrow. My wife and I moved down here to Arizona during COVID because my mom was sick. We came down here to help my mom during her final months of life. But when that occurred, come to find out, my sister, who had always been the strong one in the family, my sister started to develop memory issues herself. Right after Mom passed away, my sister ended up having to go into a home. So here I was, managing my mom's estate, managing the family home here in Arizona, managing my sister's estate, and managing our house back in Maryland. Well, as I went through it each and every day, I told myself, well, this is temporary. You know, we can get out of this by, I don't know, selling the Maryland house or whatever, but the family needed me to do it, and there was no one else around that could do it. So I said, you know what? I got to do this. I got to spend time every day working on all of the things that are needed, all the bills that need to be paid, all the things that need to be consolidated together, things that need to be sold off, whatever. That all became part of what I did each day. And it was, nobody else was around to do it. And my family needed me. So I did it. I don't feel bad about it. I didn't develop any resentment toward it. Thankfully, my sister's much better, and she's managing her own affairs now. So now we're just focusing on a couple other things instead of all four at once. When you do find your why, you can gain tremendous satisfaction every day. And this is something that I remember sharing with our CIO in our organization. They were asking, so tell me about yourself. And many, they'd go around the room, tell me about yourself. The CIO said, I am a second generation immigree. We immigrated from, I think it was Armenia, they came from, and he said, I've always had a desire to do things to make my family better. Great, fine. And then we went around the room, and other people were like, well, I'm an IT specialist. I've been here for 5 years, and I work on stock control and inventory, and I answer the phones. Okay. But then it got around to me, and I said, hi, I'm Scotty Ward, and I love IT. And people, looked at me like I had two heads. I said, no, I love IT. I've been doing this for 30 years. I can't imagine doing anything more enjoyable and more rewarding. I said, it gets me out of bed in the morning. IT gets me out of bed. What? Absolutely. Cybersecurity, defending the realm, helps me each and every day to achieve some of these things like this mentorship program, to where I can help others realize your goals as well. That's what excites me. That's what makes me tick. I want you to be successful. And I'm not doing it for any sort of personal pride. I get pride in seeing you make steps, make goals, even if they're little goals. Hey, I applied for a job today. Excellent. That's great. You know? And here's the other thing I want you to understand. Missed goals are not failures. If you missed the goal this time, regroup, set new goals perhaps, but keep realizing that your goals will help you get farther than having no goals at all. Your goal is something that you can work on each and every day. Your why should wake you up in the morning. You wake up and you say, wow, I've got a whole day free so I can do some study. Or I've got this thing from 2 to 4 and then something else from 6 to 8. So from 4 to 6, I can study. That's a short-term goal, but it helps you achieve your long-term why. So your tomorrow is where you want to be. Your tomorrow's where you're going to end up. So I found this cute little graphic. Set the goal, make the plan, get to work, stick to it, and you will achieve your goals. Maybe not everything you set out to do. I never made it to be an oceanographer. But here I am, after 33 years in IT service management and cybersecurity. I'm loving it. It's fun. It's something that I get joy out of doing. And that's why I woke up at 3 a.m. here in Arizona and put together this slide deck, because this, for me, is enjoyable and it helps me each and every day. Anybody have anything, any thoughts or ideas based on what I've said?
Hey, Scotty,
Anyone?
I have two things.
Sure.
That same CIO you talked about probably sat me down in that interview that I had with him. And at the end of the whole interview, he goes, Chris, I have two objectives for you when you're in this position. First off is to be the best IT specialist you can ever be. Continue learning, read about things, ask questions, do what makes you a good IT specialist and why we hired you. And he goes, the second thing I want you to do is meet people. And I look at the CIO and I go, meet people? And he goes, yes. A lot of the IT group of people can be more introverted on the side, but if you meet people, your learning becomes increased. It will increase. And the more people you meet, the more that you will learn, and you'll figure out and find your dreams and hopes and goals from there. And I chewed on that second statement for a bit, but now that I've chewed on it and met more people, it has put me into many opportunities that I couldn't have dreamed of day one when I was in my IT specialist role, and wish I would have had that when I was in that searching as well. And meeting people and learning who they are and what they do, it helps with not only helping you get to your goals, but finding out if that is the right thing to do in the end. And that would be the first part. Completely lost my second part after that thought about the CIO. Nothing says in the second part to go ahead and go on and I'm glad you put down hey, what gets you up in the morning? And there's a one slide. I'm going to look back at my notes. I actually took notes here. If you missed today, guess what? Tomorrow's an opportunity. That's hitting hard with a couple friends I have who are kind of frustrated at the. I got a friend right now who is like really frustrated with the job search, and he feels, and he's subscribing to the economy is bad, the tech sector is, nobody's hiring at this time. And I'm sitting there shaking my head going, well, hey, I'm still seeing these roles out there. And I ask him this question, and I try not to be hard on him, but the question I ask is, hey, how many job applications did you apply to? And he grumbled, but then he come out with the word, with the number of 0. I go, hey, for me in the federal government, for me to be promoted once I'm on the top ladder scale, where I am right now, I have to go and apply for my next promotion, my next position. And I still am doing the job search. So if I could probably give the best advice to anybody, you probably want to lessen your job search when you're unemployed and more into, hey, I got money coming in, I got time to study, but what is out there and who needs help, where, how, and why in this field? And you're going to discover that there's much more to it than the pen tester offensive security side, that there's other things that cybersecurity is looking for. Governance, risk, compliance, privacy, blue team, defense, system administration. Can you
identity access and management?
The access and management. It's not just the stuff you see in entertainment that's fun and great and wonderful. There's people who need help in those places. And you're going to find out that if you have even a single love for a computer and you're here today, maybe that role is good for you to get your foot in the door and to apply for. And that's the key part is you have to apply. You have to tell people you love it. Because if you just sit there in silence hoping a position falls in your lap and you have all the skill and knowledge, that's not going to help. Talk to people, apply to positions, let people know you're interested. Because if you just sit there and wait for it to come to you, you're going to be sitting waiting for a long time. Also, Fox, sorry.
No, that
slide charged me up a little bit. Well, hey, I failed. What's next? I don't want to do this anymore.
Right. Failure is not a final destination. I guess that's a way of saying it. Failures do occur. For example, I told you about my time with my daughter. I was unable to grow up with my daughter and help her during her early years because her mom and I, didn't get along. But later on in life, I've been able to patch up that relationship, and she and I do wonderfully with each other now. So that came later in life. The fact that I wasn't able to help her in high school didn't determine the future, but it was something that we had to go through at that time. So I think you've heard, some of these sayings sound real goofy, but they can be helpful, where you say things like, this too shall pass. This is only temporary. I'm only here long enough to achieve what I need to do in the long run. So, yeah, thank you, Chris. Anyone else?
The better attitude for that one would be, hey, failure is going to happen, but how do you recover back from the failure? Did you learn from it? Did you action step next after that? I'll share this one real quickly. There was a ticket that landed on my desk, and I couldn't figure for the life of me how to solve this ticket. And the options were, hey, be paralyzed and do nothing with the ticket. Well, that's not going to solve any issues. Or, hey, reach out to people and say, hey, what do you guys think? And turns out to figure out that I didn't have an access that I was not supposed to have in the first place, and took some help from our teammates, not necessarily my organization, not necessarily my little group level, to say, yeah, we don't have access either. Okay, well, what about other people in our organization who may know? And it turns out that, yeah, that should have gone to another group in the end, and it got moved.
Mm-hmm.
And the fact that if you come in with the attitude of, hey, I have to be perfect, I have to solve every problem, that's the wrong attitude.
Yeah. Yeah.
And failure is going to happen. But
Mm-hmm.
if you come back with a attitude of, okay, I'm failing, what do I do? Do I ask for help? Do I read knowledge bases to understand how to fix it and realize it and learn from it?
Mm-hmm.
I think if you come in with that attitude, you will be very successful in the end. How do you recover from that failure?
Right. In this cybersecurity mentorship program, we focus on different things than other mentorship programs do, honestly. If you look at other programs out there, frequently they are tool-oriented, or they focus on one specific thing. And Chris pointed this out, and I'm telling you this just from being in the career field. Not everybody is a pen tester in the cybersecurity group. In fact, the pen testers are a minority. So if cybersecurity interests you, you may not end up being that person who is doing offensive or defensive warfare. You may be that person that's writing the reports. You may be that person that's training your customers. You may be that person that reviews the legislation and says, are we in compliance with all of these new laws that are coming out? All of that works together to make cybersecurity. So I mentioned this when I was younger. The big thing when people went into the Air Force, what do you want to do when you go in the Air Force? Oh, I want to fly jets. Well, not everybody can fly jets, but that doesn't mean you're not in the Air Force. So be careful that you don't fall for the impressions, the romance of cybersecurity, because when things get tough, you'll say, hey, this is not as fun as I thought it would be. Okay, so what do you do tomorrow to make it more fun? So just be careful about that. The romance can get really old when they're asking you to work overnight to fix a zero-day issue. The romance gets kind of old when you have to cancel dates or college classes or whatever because of the churn that's going on in your office. Oh, somebody else quit. Now you have to expand into their area as well. That sort of thing. So be aware that each and every day you have to evaluate based on how do I make this better. We learn in this mentorship program to focus on lessons learned. If you remember in our homework assignments, you say always include lessons learned. The reason is lessons learned can help you in everything you do. Lessons learned is, and there's 3 questions you need to ask yourself each time. I don't care if it's for a football game. I don't care if it's for your family finances. I don't care if it's for your career aspirations. You ask yourself, question 1, what worked well? Question 2, what didn't work so well? And question 3, what do we do next time to make this better? That's lessons learned. And you will encounter that throughout your professional career. Managers do it all the time. And that's why we're teaching that to you now. What worked, what didn't work, what do we change to make it better in the future? Or what do we keep the same? So it all works toward making things better. And you can take little tiny steps. Here's a thought. You can even choose to decide. And that's a step. You may not have made the decision, but you have chosen to make that decision. That in itself is a step forward. So don't think that you have to have this list of accomplishments every single day. You don't. You say, what are my goals? How did I do toward them? What can I do tomorrow to get a little closer? Anybody have anything? Anyone? Happy to hear from you. I know some of you are saying, yeah, but let's talk about real world. Let's talk about the real life. Go ahead, share.
Hey, good morning.
Good morning, Derek.
How you doing?
Wonderful.
That's good. That's good. Well, I mean, me personally, I of course I agree with everything y'all saying. You know, like one obstacle I'm dealing with myself is of course I'm new to the IT field, so one thing I lack is experience. I got a bunch of education, but no experience, and then plus being in the DC area, a lot of the tech jobs, it's a lot of tech jobs up there, but they all want security clearances. Dealing with tech IT up here in DC is a lot of data, so they want everybody to have security clearances. That's something I struggle with getting. I have a hard time getting. So like I put in probably 20 applications a week, probably more than that for real. And I get denied, no, unfortunately, appreciate you. You know what I'm saying? Everything. I mean, it's not discouraging, but it is kind of frustrating. You know what I mean? So I mean, that's definitely something I'm dealing with right now. And I've been looking for apprenticeships, internships, all types of things. You know, and it's not coming through. I ain't giving up.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, but you know, that's just something that I'm struggling with right now. That's all.
Sure. The discussion about security clearances, I fully understand that. When I graduated high school and went into the Air Force, I had to go through the security clearance process. I would say that there are, if you're talking jobs that are supporting the federal government, there are jobs that they will hire you and help you get your clearance as well. So that may be a possibility. There are jobs that do require higher security clearances, and those are going to be the ones that are going to be much more difficult to get. For those of you who don't understand the security clearance process, go out and look at our YouTube video on security clearances and classifications. We did a full video on this last year, and it can help you understand the process and how to navigate that process. But I do understand what you're saying, Marcus. The interesting thing, let me just give you a little word of hope here. If you were in a sales position, let's say you're trying to sell, tools, you may encounter a lot of people that say, no thanks, nope, absolutely not, nope, don't need it right now, or whatever. But your goal is to sell the tools. So if you get a no, that's having been in sales before, a no is one step closer to your next yes. That's what they always taught us in sales. If you get a no, move on to your next yes. You are one step closer to your yes. So, and when you're looking for IT, cybersecurity type jobs, you only need one to establish yourself in a career. You only need one. I had I had somebody this a few months ago that basically challenged me and said, why is no one hiring? Nobody's hiring. There are no vacancies. And I said, really? I knew he lived down here in Arizona, Maricopa County, which is the greater Phoenix area. And I went on to Indeed. I went on to USA Jobs and one other one that I don't even remember right now, and found that there were 140 vacancies. And he's like, oh, I had my filter set wrong. I said, okay, well, keep applying, man. You know, don't get frustrated. He was not looking with the right lens in the right place at the right time. Okay, so adjust your thinking, adjust your focus. Don't let it stop you. Help to energize you toward your next one. Make sense?
Yes, sir.
Though, if he didn't engage, if he didn't speak out, he wouldn't have gotten the help. So
right.
I taught everyone here that, you know, this group is growing, more membership, but, you know, step out. You know, it might be uncomfortable to speak up, but speak up. This is where you're going to get your help.
Yep. Thank you.
I'm also going to challenge, Derek, that you have more experience than you think you do.
Mm-hmm.
I think you're caught in the trap of people saying, hey, I have this skill, but I don't have it in the work setting. I'm going to challenge you that you have much more experience than you think you do. Count the training that you do. Count anything that you do to help people out with it. Keep in mind that there's different levels of experience. And Scotty has a great line that he says that if you've done it once, you've done it. You've done it. And how you categorize that, how do you do that? Send your resume over and ask the questions. We'll be glad to help you from there. And we'll help you with that resume part of saying, hey, I have experience in Windows Server, for example. And where did I do it? We can help you place that and show you where. And maybe that could be a change in a resume style. It could be gone from chronological resume over to a, hey, let's emphasize your skills and then put a list of where you worked. And it's how you do your advertising brochure kind of situation. So we can chat about that later. But I'm going to challenge you there that you have more experience than you think you do, sir.
Mm-hmm.
Yes,
and
sir.
if you don't, sure, Derek. If you think that you want more experience, I think everyone who's in this particular career field can always use more experience. We have our incident response team. And this is not an exercise. This is not some play. This is real as it's defined in your security study guides. This is valid incident response experience. If they say, what experience do you have? You can say, I am a member of the CyberSecurity-Sensei incident response team where we report incidents to the Federal Trade Commission to help reduce fraud nationwide. What? Yeah, you can say that.
Yeah.
But you got to get involved. You have to do this. Only 4 people in this group have started to do these incident response team activities. It's not that difficult to do, but it takes a little time. Find some spam that you or your family members or your friends get and go to reportfraud.ftc.gov and fill out a report. And then the important thing for us is when you're done with that, you need to keep track of the time you spent and the number of reports you put in, and then you can put it into this activity log so that we later on can say, oh, look, you've done reports submitted. So look at this, Guru. You are my champion. 40 reports in one day. You're my champion.
That's an Excel spreadsheet. Okay.
Well,
that's
through that
site?
our tracking sheet. If you put information in here that says, here's me, here's my email, my name, the date I did this, how long I spent doing it, how many activities, how many incidents I reported, and then generally speaking, and this is optional, generally speaking, what were they? Submit. Boom. When you do that, we see it on that spreadsheet. Automatically, it populates a spreadsheet that says you, on this date, spent this long and made this many reports. When you do that, when you submit the report, you will get an email from the Federal Trade Commission that says your complaint has been submitted. Save those reports because every single one has a file number on it. Save those, and then later on, when you're preparing your resume, you can say, will you, mentors, will you please report on how long I've been doing it, how long I spent at it, and how many reports I've submitted. And we will validate that for you. That's experience.
All that's done through that site?
Yes, it is.
Okay, cool. I just screenshot it.
Very good. I do not publish the log, the activity log. I don't publish that one up there because it is a right-enabled form. And if somebody didn't like what we were doing, it is quite possible for them to go in and pollute that form to where it can't be used. So I'm sort of sensitive about that particular report form so that you guys will have the ability to provide these reports and we can see those reports very easily. Spend, a couple minutes each day over your morning coffee. It's all helpful. And you can say, I have experience. Since this date, I've been doing this many hours per week reporting on incidents that affect me and the people around me to help track down and put in jail these nefarious people that are stealing money, stealing identities, and ruining people's lives. That's a really strong why, if you think about it. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Our time's up, everybody. I really appreciate you all coming in. Did you get some benefit out of this? Was it helpful?
Absolutely.
Yes, sir.
Okay. In the end.
Yes.
Okay. Thanks, Twyla.
Thank you, Mrs. Scotty.
Yeah, my pleasure. I'm happy to do this. I love seeing everybody grow and benefit and get bigger and do better. Also, I hate what the bad guys do to us and our families and our finances and our systems. I really want to help them choose not to. Make it so discouraging that they won't do this anymore. So, all right, everybody. Have a wonderful weekend, and we will talk later, okay?
Thanks,
Take
Scott.
care.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right,
Thank
thank you,
you.
Scotty. Have a
Thank you, Scotty. Thank you, Chris. Have a nice weekend, guys.